Evening, Stories at Seveners. Well, now I'm picking up on the second half of chapter 11. Kate very kindly has left me a very odd poem, a little rhyme that the Mouse King says to Mary. Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. Our little Mary, that night, was so worried that she heard the Mouse King on her shoulders, and he had his 7 open jaws, and he was clashing his teeth, and there was blood red foam dripping for them. I tell you what, they were grisly, these old stories. Anyway, let me attempt to do the Mouse King's poem. Hiss, hiss, none of your bacon, Mouse King too sharp not to be taken. Trap very fine, but not what it looks. Give me out now your picture books, do you hear? And your new frock too, else there shall be no peace for you. You very well know Nutcracker must go. I will tear him so. Hee hee, pee pee, squeak squeak. Now Mary was overcome by sorrow. Let's not laugh. Now was Mary overcome by sorrow and woe. She looked so pale and out of sorts that when her mother next morning remarked that the mouse had not been caught, believing Mary to be afraid of it and distressed about the loss of her sweet, she added, "But never mind, dear child, we will soon get rid of that naughty mouse. If traps are no good, Fred must bring up his grey chamber counsellor." As soon as Mary found herself alone in the parlour, she went up to the glass cupboard and, sobbing, spoke thus to her Nutcracker. "Oh, my dear Herr Drosselmeyer, what can a poor unhappy girl do for you? Were I to give all my picture books and even my beautiful new frock which I got as a Christmas present to be torn to pieces by the horrible Mouse King, will he not then go on asking more and more and more, so that at last I shall have nothing left to give, and he will want to bite me up instead of you? Oh, poor girl that I am, what can I do? What am I to do now?" Weeping and lamenting so bitterly, little Mary noticed that through the... Can you hear my creaky stairs? Sorry, it's somebody walking down the stairs. Weeping and lamenting so bitterly, little Mary noticed that through the night a great spot of blood had been left on the Nutcracker's neck. Ever since she knew that her Nutcracker was properly young Drosselmeyer's counsellor nephew, she had given up carrying him in her arms and cuddled and kissed him no more. Indeed, out of a certain shyness, she hardly liked to touch him. Yet now she took him very carefully out of the cupboard and began to rub the blood spot from his neck with her pocket handkerchief. But what to her amazement, when all at once she felt Nutcracker growing warm in her hands and beginning to move his limbs. Quickly she set him back in the cupboard, where his little mouth wagged shakily up and down, and painfully he lisped out, "Oh, most worthy Miss Starbum, excellent friend, how can I thank you for all? Yes, no picture book, no Christmas frock shall you sacrifice for me. Procure me only a sword. A sword. I will answer for the rest. Let him do his worst." Do you remember? Because Godfather Drosselmeyer had fixed him and taken his sword away. Here Nutcracker's speech died away, and his eyes, lately animated by an expression of inward grief, became again dull and fixed as glass. Mary felt no horror, rather she skipped for joy, now knowing that the means to save Nutcracker without further sore sacrifices, but wherever was she to get a sword for the small man? She resolved to take Fred into counsel, and that evening, their parents having gone out, these two sat together in the parlour by the glass cupboard, and she told him all that had happened with Nutcracker and Mouse King, and what was now required for the former's deliverance. I'm going to turn this camera around so it's slightly up the glass cupboard. And then it'll be part of the story. Yes, she told Fred. None of all this made such an impression on Fred as how, according to Mary's report, his hussars had behaved themselves so badly in the battle. He just asked very seriously whether things had really gone as she'd said, and when she assured him on her word that it was so, he went to the cupboard addressed the hussars with a moving speech, then, as punishment for their selfishness and cowardice, cut the cockades off their hat one after another and forbade them to play the Hussar Guards March for a year. His reprimand ended, and he turned to Mary, saying, "As for the sword, I can supply Nutcracker, for it's a boy. As for the sword, I can supply Nutcracker, for yesterday I pensioned off an old colonel of cuirassiers who does not need his sword any more." The said colonel, don't forget it's a toy, was enjoying the pension assigned to him by Fred in a back corner at the top shelf. Thence, being fetched down, his smart silver-mounted sword was taken off him and hung around the waist of the Nutcracker. That night Mary could not sleep for anxious dread. At midnight she thought she could hear in the parlour the strange stir, a clang of confusion, and all of a sudden it went whee! "Oh, the Mouse King! The Mouse King!" cried Mary, and sprang startled out of bed. All was still, but soon there came a soft tapping at the door, and a tiny voice made itself heard. "Dear Miss Darbham, now you can be at ease. Good, joyful news." Mary, recognising the voice of young Drosselmere, threw on her dress and hurriedly opened the door. Outside of it stood the little Nutcracker. Sword in his right hand, a wax light in his neck, the dripping sword in his right hand, and a wax light in his left. And as soon as he saw Mary, he knelt down and spoke thus: "You alone, my lady, are she who steeled my heart with courage and gave my arms strength to combat the haughty foe that dared insult you. Conquered lies the traitorous Mouse King and wallows in his blood. Scorn not, O lady, to receive the tokens of victory at the hands of your till death devoted knight." I'm going to show you the little picture of Mary with a Nutcracker. Can you see that well enough? There's a bit of a glary reflection. With this, the Nutcracker pulled off the 7 golden crowns of the Mouse King, strung them round his left arm, and handed them over to Mary, who received them with delight. Then, rising to his feet, he went on: "Ah, my dearest Miss Darbham, having now overpowered my enemy, what wonderful things could I not show you, if you would only have the kindness to follow me a little way? Please, oh please do, young lady." "Ooh, I would. Wouldn't you?" So it would seem that Nutcracker has defeated the 7-headed Mouse King. And where are we in the book? We're 3/4 of the way through, so I feel revenge might be in order, or maybe Mary's mum's got something to do with the rest of the story. We'll have to find out. But you can bet your $1 it's something to do with following her to... Yes, we don't know where to. Wherever she follows him to. The next chapter is called The Toy Kingdom. There could be a clue in that. Anyway, Kate will be reading that tomorrow. So until then, see you later. Bye-bye.